So in today's lecture, we will go over aggregating functions in SQL. So we are going to cover chapter 4 in My Educator. So we already actually went through some of the date functions. So we already used the month, the year, and the day functions. But let's go over the aggregate functions. So what we mean by aggregate functions actually is it refers to the maximum, the minimum, the count, the sum, and so on. So to do this, it is very simple, and I just want to share with you some keywords or rules of thumb that if you hear them, then you will be able to distinguish between when to use sum versus when to use count. So the keywords that are connected with sum is when a statement or a question is asking you what is the total of. So the total of automatically indicates to the sum. But if the question is asking you about what is the number of, then that's an indication of count. Or if another question is asking you how many products or how many categories, then we are referring to the count function. So remember now the keywords for the count is if we are asking about how many or what is the number of, then automatically we go for the count. If we are asking about what is the total of, then automatically we will use the sum function. And then what is the highest is maximum, what is the lowest is minimum, average or mean is the average function. All right, so this is how we use the maximum function, for example. So to use the maximum function, we just say max, and then we put in parentheses the field or the column name that contains that numeric value. And then we give it an alias, or we give it a name as an alias. All right, so now let's think about this one. This is a table that has values in it, and the question is, what is the average price of shoes? So the average price of shoes, so it is the average price of list or average list price. So I will say select average list price as average price from whatever this table is. So it's going to be select average list price from, actually the name of the table is product. So what is the average price of shoes per manufacturer? So now there is another thing that we will be using, which is the keyword or the clause. We call it group by. Group by. So this is when we have cross tabulation, or when we want to group our output or our aggregate numbers by a column. So now when we say what is the average price of shoes per manufacturer, so we want to put the manufacturer ID in one column, and then for every manufacturer ID we want to see the average list price for it in front of it, so the average rather than the actual list price for each product. So in this case, this is what we mean here. We will put the manufacturer ID in the first column. In front of each manufacturer ID we will have the average list price. So this is how we will write it. We will say select and then average list price from product, and then actually select, and then we will select manufacturer ID as our first column, comma, and then we will have average list price from product, and then group by manufacturer ID. So select manufacturer ID, that will be our first column, and then average list price. So it will get better when we actually do it in the practice exercises. So here, just quickly overview what we will expect to do. So what is the average price of shoes for each category? The same thing. Now for each, when there is a question that has for each, that's another keyword that indicates that we are using group by, or we have to use, or we need to use a group by. So for each or for every, then that's a keyword for group by clause will be definitely used for this query. So the average price of shoes for each category, so we need to select the category as our first column, and then average list price as the second column, and then we will need from the product table and group by category. So this is exactly what we get. And then what is the average price of shoes for each color? The same thing. So we select the color, comma, and then average price from product, group by color. Very straightforward. So now there is the having clause. So the having clause always comes with the group by. If we have an aggregate value that we want to, let's say, narrow down our output based on an aggregate function, then we use the having clause. So for example here, what is the average price of shoes for each category containing more than 50 products? So here, containing more than 50 products is basically an aggregate function where I need to count the number of products, and then if they are greater than 50, then I will show them. So you got the idea. So I will say select category, then average list price from product, group by. So I will say group by category, having, and then more than 50 products. Actually, then having, I would say maximum, or actually I can use count, and then asterisk in parentheses greater than 50. And so this will give me my output. So having is important to use when we want to make aggregation more specific or narrow it down or pinpoint. So now let's practice. So we will go to chapter 4 in My Educator, and we will work on that. All right, so let me just move this guy here. Okay, let's go to My Educator. So for My Educator, I will just go to Essential of SQL, and then Advanced Query, and then I will put it that way. And then actually if you go here, you will have the handouts for day 4. It should be already here for us, so you can download this handout, and I already have it. I already downloaded it. So this is what we will be working on right now. Okay, so list sales of sneakers sold in April. So when I answer questions, I always need to look at my schema or the ERD diagram or the entity relationship diagram. So list sales of sneakers sold in April. Sales of sneakers. So sales of sneakers sold in April. So in this case, I need all sales from the sale table, and sneakers, I need the category from the product table. So in other words, I need to connect or join those 3 tables in order to answer my question. So I have sale. So I will say select, and then I will move on to the from clause, and then sale s, join sale item si on s dot sale id equals si dot sale id, join product p on si dot product ID equals p dot product ID. Alright, so now I'm done with the joining. So the question is asking me list sales. So sales in this case sales, or the sale table, I called it S. So S dot asterisk sales of sneakers sold in April. So now I need to narrow that down in the where clause for the sneakers. So where category equals category equals sneakers and sold in April. So in this case it is the sale date. So and April, which is January, February, March, April. April is month 4. So month sale date equals 4. So now let's run. Before that, actually I need to select the correct database, which is SQL Server at Azure, and then Red Cat 2. So it's very important to select the correct ones. So now you see that I have the correct answer. Alright, so now let's move on to the next one, where we will start using the aggregate functions. Alright, so what are the highest and lowest prices for products? So from the product, and we need the list price. So the highest and largest prices from the product. So I will say select max list price as highest price, comma, min list price. So I'm using the minimum function as lowest price from product. So now I'll run it, and this is what I get. That's very straightforward. So that's the answer to the second one. So for sales in May of 2015, what was the average shipping cost? So which table I need for this one? So I need the sales ID and average shipping cost. So it is the sale table. So I'm using only one table here. Alright, so I'll say select what is the average shipping cost. So average AVG shipping as shipping cost from sale, right? From sale. And then the question also, they are specifying for May 2015. So where month sale date, so month sale date equals May 5, and year sale date equals 2015. All right, so this is the answer that I get. So now the question is, how can we round instead of having all those decimals? Can we round it to this only to 2 decimal points? Yes, we can do that. So I will just say round, and then I will put a comma here and say, let's say 2 decimal points. Now I have rounded it into that second or 2 decimal points. So now what is the total quantity of sneakers that were sold in Oklahoma? All right, so sneakers. So the quantity is here, and the sneakers from the product, and then Oklahoma is from the customer. So I need to join all those tables in order to answer this question. So let's join them first, and then we will look at the other question. So select from customer C, join sale S on c dot customer ID equals s dot customer ID, and then join s dot, so the common key is sale ID equals si sale ID on, oops, no, on, so I need to join, sorry, so let's do this. So join, I need to include the name of these tables, sale item si, and then I will say on sale ID equals si dot sale ID, then join product p on si dot, the common key is product ID equals p dot product ID. So now I joined them. So now let's go back and see what they really want us to do. So what is the total quantity? Now can we remember what we said this keyword refers to? Is this a count or the sum? Alright, so in this case, so we say total always refers to the sum, quantity as total, I'll just leave it as total. So now quantity of sneakers, so sneakers, I need to use that or narrow that in the where clause. So where category equals sneakers, what else, and customer. So now we need the also and state equals okay. Alright, so now let's run this guy. Alright, we got 120. So total quantity of sneakers we have sold to customers in Oklahoma. So we got the idea here. So now how many different categories of shoes do we have? So how many categories of shoes do we have? So the categories are here, but we want them to be distinct. So I will just delete this one. I will say select. How many categories do we have? So how many, remember when we say how many, is that a count or a sum? So a count and then category, because this one categories, I don't want to calculate or count how many categories if I use it this way. So if I use this query this way, actually it's gonna count all the rows that have a category in it, which is not accurate. I want the unique category, number of unique categories only. So as unique categories, and in this case I will use count distinct category as unique categories. So this will be one word. So from product. Alright, so let's see how many different categories of shoes do we have. Alright, so I'll run this guy. So we have 8, which is correct. If you want to just verify, you can just say distinct category, and then let's see if we have 8 or not. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. You got it, perfect. So now let's move on. Now what is the average shipping and tax for December sales? What is the average? So in this case, the sale date, I need the tax and the average shipping. Alright, so it's asking me what is the average shipping and tax together. So I'll say select AVG and then tax plus shipping. And then they said round, right? So all around. And then I will put I'm gonna give it the meaningful name. So how many, or what is the average shipping? And so I'll say here as average tax and shipping. So from sale table. And then they said for December. Okay, so where month and then sale date, equals 12. Alright, so now let's run this guy and see what we will get. It's not allowing me to use that and, so I'll just close it or delete it. So now you got the idea that I have the average shipping, tax and shipping for December sales. So the eighth question is how many customers live in Kentucky? So how many customers live in Kentucky? So I need the customer table and the state Kentucky. Alright, so how many do we remember now what keyword we should use? So select count, and then I will say all as number of customers in Kentucky from customer. Alright, so where state equals Kentucky. So how many customers live in Kentucky? So I'll run it and see how many. Number is 79. So very simple, very easy. So now we will practice with questions that indicate group by. So remember what we say, the keyword is for each or for every, indicates a group or the use of group clause. So let's look at the first question here. So for each product category, what is the highest list price for a product in that category? So for every category, what is the highest price category, price for that category? So I have the list price and I have the category. So I will say select category because I want the category column to show first. And then they said what is the highest, so that's a max list price as highest price. So from, what is the name of this table? Product. Alright, from product. Alright, is there alright, so now remember when we say for each, it indicates that I need to use the group by. So I'll say group by and then category. So I need to group by category. So now you will see that for every category I have the highest price or the maximum price. So you get the idea what we mean by group by. So it aggregates, it gives me only the highest price here. Alright, so now let's see for each product category what is the average list price of black shoes. So in this case they want the average, so I will say average, and here they want me to say I will put average price, select category, comma, average list price as average price from product. And then I need where, so they said, so why I put where between the from and before group by is because of this. So from and then where comes next and group by after. So for each product category, what is the average list price of black shoes? So where color equals black, then group by category. So now you get the idea, we got the answer. Alright, so now the last two items are when we use having. So having, if we want to pinpoint or narrow down our output based on an aggregate number. Alright, so let's see. For each category containing more than 50 products, what is the maximum list price in that category? Alright, so I will say select. So category. So because for each category, that's the keyword. So category, and then what is the maximum list price? So max list price as max price from product group by category. Now having, so now it says containing more, for each category containing more than 50 products, having count and then asterisk greater than 50. So this should give me the answer. So the maximum price for every category that has more than 50 products in it. Alright, so now the last one, for each product category, what is the average list price of black shoes? Alright, so I'll close this one. Now black shoes, so I'll say where color equals black. Alright, what is for black shoes, consider only those categories have no product priced over 100. So now I'll say having categories having no product priced over 100. So having max list price less or equal to 100. So not priced over 100. So now I will run this guy and I will get the answer. Less or equal. What is, actually they are asking me here for the average, so I'll change that, average, and then I'll say average, but you get the idea here. Alright, so this is the answer for our last question. So this will give you practice to practice more, and as I said in a previous email, that you can copy this content here for your own notes, so it's not required for me. This is just kind of for you to keep notes, but you don't have to put it here as long as you have any way to practice. So I will talk, or I will see you in the next lecture.